Okay, how about that?
Let's try that. Yeah, that's a lot better.
Okay, good, good. All right, man. Well, so is the D silent in your last name?
No, no, you say it.
Okay, okay.
It's pronounced exactly like how it spells.
Dvorak.
Yeah, Dvorak.
Dvorak.
Really
So
hard with the consonants.
okay, that's kind of like some French Revolution era. That would be like something you would add to your name, like the Marquis de Sade or something like
Yeah.
that. But people, yeah, during the Enlightenment, they added the does to their name a lot. I'm not saying that was the origin of your family name, but interesting nonetheless. I'm a historian on the side,
Oh,
so
right on. Okay.
yeah. It's actually my first year not teaching college. I was teaching college and running my gym for the last 4 years. So, yeah.
Man, that's a lot going on.
I know now I just walk around with useless trivial knowledge. So, it's great.
Yeah. Sounds like my dad.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, man, I've kept up with you a little bit over recent years. I knew you had moved to Colorado and stuff, but it's kind of funny. Yeah, I'd been seeing you around on like the tournament circuit. Like I knew you through jiu-jitsu, and ironically, I just was able to pull this up. Like I remember being in my shitty apartment reading this episode of Jiu-Jitsu magazine, and like I think I had just seen you at the George seminar or something at Omar's, and then I'm like reading about you in Jiu-Jitsu magazine and some tournament that you had competed in. But man, we did see each other on the tournament circuit quite a bit, and I know that you owned your own gym, and I mean, like, how did you get going with jiu-jitsu? Like, I knew you, I think you were already a black belt the first time I met you.
Yeah, I got my black belt in 2017. I started in jujitsu just like a way to hang out with my dad. Like we didn't really have anything in common except the UFC. And once we got into that, you know, we just took off with it. And that was back in 2007, I think.
Did he
Yeah, so it's
start
been
the
over
first
10
time
years.
with you? Y'all like went to class together and stuff, or what?
Yeah, yeah, like that was like how we hung out.
Sweet, sweet. Well, then, like, so you started teaching jujitsu like during the colored belts, right? Like, you got kind of involved with that side of things kind of early on. It seems like.
Yeah, I started working at the original academy that I started training at, and I started off as like an assistant kids instructor. And then after a couple years, that kind of took off a little bit, and I ended up running the whole program for a little while. And then after doing that for a few years, I decided, that's what I wanted to do with my life. And then I opened up Top Game in 2014. So
Were you with Alan Moeller at that time? Like, am I misremembering that?
not originally. I started working with Alan after I opened Top Game.
Okay, right on.
So starting at purple belt.
Yeah, see, so that is like, I guess you'd been with Alan probably for a few years, because that is when you kind of came into my, awareness. But man, and just like I'd seen him and his guys at tournaments for years, and just like had talked to him at tournaments, and I had a lot of respect for his program, and still follow him. Did you? Was that just like the big name for you to train with where you were at in Texas, or what?
Yeah, I'd say it was one of the bigger names. We had like moved around and tried to talk to a few people, but once we had our first meeting with Alan, it was like that was where we wanted to go.
So, and you're not originally, this is like what, Denton, Texas, was it that
Mm-hmm.
your first
Yeah, the
academy?
Denton area.
Well, but you're originally from Vegas, did I see? Is that?
Yeah, that's my dad was in the Air Force, so we moved around a lot growing up. But that's like my middle school area, so that's kind of where I claim where I'm from, because that's like the first place I remember.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I've been to Vegas probably 10 times, and it's awesome.
Oh, dude, it's my favorite.
We always go. Have you ever been during International Fight Week?
No.
Yeah, like man, they hadn't done it the last 2 years, not doing it this year. But Century Martial Arts, they had that martial arts super show. It's like a trade show for people that own martial arts schools, but they always had it with Fight Week. So there'd be like UFCs, and then there's like the Waco kickboxing tournament, and like American Nationals with IBJJF was always going on that same week. One year I did that also. Man, it was just like the coolest experience, and it's just all going down to Vegas and catch a UFC, and it was awesome. But I think we're looking forward. I've also seen Widespread Panic there, and I believe we're gonna
Oh.
hit a concert there in 2023. Are you a fan of Panic? Familiar?
I'm not super familiar with them, but I'm really into like the festival scene.
See, yeah, that's something else that we like had as a shared interest, which we can veer off into that. Because I remember, like, I think I was at a Buckethead concert or something. I posted about, and you were like, "Oh man, I was wanting to see that," or maybe you had just seen him. But we do have a lot of shared musical interests. It seems. What are some of the bands you're into seeing?
I've seen Sun Squabby just about every time they come through town.
Oh,
I'm
dude.
not sure if you're familiar with them.
Yes. Oh, dude, I've got like a
Yeah.
whole Squabby Run playlist I play during my jiu-jitsu classes.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, when I first moved out to Colorado, they were the first show I got to catch. Like the next day, they were playing their Halloween set, and it was awesome.
Dude, they blow me away. We saw them at George's here in Arkansas, this place up in Fayetteville. And we had gone to see the Floozies, and it was like their
Yeah.
it was like their album release party, right? And I'm there with my buddy Nate, jiu-jitsu black belt, and we walk out of the concert, and it's just been like a mind-blowing night. And like we didn't even know who Sun Squabby was going in, and Russ Liquid was also playing. But
Okay, right on.
yeah, it was a killer night. But we were walking out. My buddy Nate was like, "Damn, that Sun Squabby show! Like if the Floozies didn't even exist, they were headlining and everything. It was like their album release and." But man, they stole the show, like for real.
That's not surprising. I mean, the Floozies go hard, but Sun Squabby's something special.
They caught us by surprise for sure. And they play in Arkansas semi often. Have had something going on the last couple of times they've come through. So, but man, they bring it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're actually from around here. One of the venues that I go to pretty frequently is a place called Cervantes, and I guess the guitar player Kevin lives around there, so I'll bump into him all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
just gonna say what's up.
That's. I'm sure the scene up there is amazing.
It's the best that I've seen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Panic plays. They do the Red Rocks show like every year. They have more sold out shows at Red Rocks than any other band that's played there.
Wow, that's not surprising either, though.
Yeah. But man, we've seen them about 50 times. I'm a huge fan. But
I got to get more into them. I'm not super familiar.
man, I would I think I have a theory about that, right? So how old are you? Like 31?
About 30, yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm 30.
Almost 31.
I'm 35. So like I graduated high school in '06, but in '02 they like reached their zenith. I would say, like culturally, like their albums, like you just look at the history of the band, it was like upward all throughout the '90s, and then their lead guitar player, who's like really the front man of the band, Mikey Hauser, he died of pancreatic cancer, and then they replaced him with this guy who's been with him since '06 now, Jimmy Herring, like that's somebody for you to just like definitely look into. But man, it is what blows my mind about Panic is how connected they are. Like they were funding bought Drive By Truckers their first tour bus. They have all of these connections with the like Tedeschi Trucks band. Like Panic's drummer is Derek Truck's brother from like Allman Brothers and
Oh shit.
Tedeschi Trucks. Like yeah, he was this prodigy 11-year-old slide guitar player in the Allman Brothers. Derek Trucks was. But it's wild how they have like all of these links to all of these other bands. That's like one thing that's fascinated me. Just like studying their history because I didn't get into them until like 2015. So
Oh yeah, so that's pretty late.
yeah, I know. And then like so also I got into him as Jimmy Herring's a guitar player, and he's like the only guitar player I've ever known. But I definitely like the Mikey Hauser era stuff better. It's
Yeah.
but yeah, man, and it's like they're one of the bands like the Dead. They record all their shows, so it's like where do you start type of a deal.
Yeah, I know it's, do they use that nugs.net website?
Oh yeah, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah. My buddy Colby, he has Nugs, and I have his login, and
Oh, nice.
it is a sick little platform for sure. Yeah. Well, so with back with jujitsu here, um, but like you open Top Game, so like one thing you're not teaching jujitsu anymore. I'm sure you maybe teach a class as a black belt in Colorado, but you definitely don't own an academy anymore. Is that right?
No, I don't know the academy anymore.
Dude, what is like that's one thing I was kind of I do own an academy. I have 450 members.
Wow.
I really can't picture doing. I don't know. I remember the last time I was like a purple belt, and I owned the gym already, and I was like on a vacation type thing. I was like sitting poolside, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna do this forever. Like that was the last time I really had any question about like whether I was gonna be really all in on the martial arts academy school owner front,
Mm.
and really just like haven't looked back since. But like, what's that been like for you, going from being the guy at your academy, head coach, school owner, to in cranking out some prodigies also, I would say, like George Valadares being one who, like, at the time I met him was your student and, like, blowing people's minds. But, and he's gone on to do great things. But, like, what has it been like not owning a school?
I don't know. I think a little better. I was really young when I opened up Top Game. I was probably 24, 23, and I was just, I don't think I was ready for all of that. I'm good at being a guy, but like you said, I don't think I'm the guy.
See, dude, that's one thing about my school that, like, really, it was a good thing when I started teaching college to have a master's in history. So it allowed, like, man, one thing I was like, you know who Jason Scully is?
Mm-hmm.
He's open an academy and hasn't had one for like 10 years, but he's just like, you know, the way he talks about running his academy is like, or he's gonna run it or would run it, is a real similar way to like how I kind of was talking about this with our Christmas party. It's like I'm like used to be the face of the gym, 100%. But now, like, I walk in here and there's a whole bunch of people that do not even know who I am, right? Just because, like, the community is so large with yoga and kids' classes. Like, I don't teach the 3 to 4 year olds. Um, so, like, there's all of these faces of the gym. It's not just me, and it's not even just my wife. We have a guy that teaches all of the morning classes. Like, he's the two people in there, the face of the morning programs. But it's just like, man, like a few years ago, I had to kind of like unplug in a way, of go from being the guy, because it's like, dude, teaching all the classes 3 times a day is not sustainable.
No, it's not.
And that was one thing that even early on was kind of wearing me out. Like right by the time I got my black belt, I was just like, you know, started putting people in roles that were super helpful. Like we fortunately had a bunch of good people helping us, that they like wanted to be in those roles and have done an amazing job and are why we're so successful, but that's definitely something that, man, I know that I was young as well. I would have been 24 when I
Mm-hmm.
opened Forza. So, and my wife was even younger than that. And that's another thing. Like we owned the school together. Are you married?
No.
Okay, cool. Um, but yeah, so I don't even know how I would do it without her. Like a bunch of people are always, hit me up like, hey, how you doing? What you doing? I'm like, well, it's really, Cora. You need a Cora. That's
Yeah.
you're asking me about, like, I just have this other half that does all these things that I can't really do. I couldn't imagine doing it without that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was my dad and I who started the academy originally. He had his full-time job. I tried to do it full time. Um, it just didn't really work out. It's rough running a family business.
I can. Well, yeah. I mean, it is.
Yeah, and it was really just us two. We didn't have a Cora or anything like that. If I wasn't teaching, he was.
He was the coach.
We had a couple of students who would help out sometimes, but and then once people started to outgrow the place, all the higher belts would leave, and then it was just starting back over again.
Man. Yeah. Well, and too, so like in that Denton, Texas area, is there a lot of competition around y'all or where you were?
No, we were like the main one.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. But there were other big names like a little bit further away that would, once people got good enough and they outgrew it, they'd want to go somewhere else.
Yeah. So what prompted your move to Colorado? Did you decide to close the academy down and do something else? Were those things connected in any way?
Yeah. Yeah, we sold the academy to another person uh probably December 2018, and I was in Colorado October 2019. So sold it, saved up a little bit of money, was looking for a change, came out here.
Nice. Just you just like been out there before, feeling the vibe. Like, is that what inspired you to choose Colorado?
Yeah, I came out and visited a few times. I really liked it. I'm really big into cannabis, and I got into the cannabis industry when I started working out here. And I like being outside, going on hikes, that kind of thing. And there's plenty of that. Plus, the music scene out here is incredible.
Yeah. Word. Yeah. So now that's an interesting topic as well. So I'm in Arkansas, where like we're a medicinally legal state, but still it is highly regulated, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't like pre-rolls, anything like that, totally off the table.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. There's like
Wow.
and two for a while, like there was only a couple of dispensaries. They didn't even open the first dispensary for like 3 years until after the bill passed.
Yeah, that makes sense, though. It sometimes takes them a while to get that shit going.
Yeah. And then while there were no other dispensaries, the prices were so high, dude. Now it's like regulated, and you can get $20 eighths and stuff if you want.
Yeah.
But man, there's still, it's like, yeah, edibles. There were no edibles there for like the first stint, and then it was like only chocolate bars, and I don't know. It just like it took a while for things to open up, and now it has. But we just had a vote for recreational, and it like the way they wrote it up, it was all regulated. Like you couldn't grow any plants or anything like that, so it didn't pass.
Wow. So no pre-rolls or anything. So was it just them selling loose buds in the beginning?
Yeah, everything still is just loose buds, and
Wow.
there are no pre like that, and then you can get like extracts and let's see, you can get a variety of edibles, gummies, chocolates, um, keef, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
RSO, like you can get some stuff like that as well. But man, it's just still took forever, like years after we had passed medicinal before we were getting to that point. It's only been that way for like a year or so.
Wow. I didn't even know y'all were medical out there.
Yeah, man. It's which that's a weird thing. Like just the number of states where it's legal statewide. I'm like really surprised that we haven't seen more of a push, for federal legality.
Yeah. Lobbying. Too many people making too much money.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some Marlboro Greens though. Like,
Yeah, I feel you.
oh man. Yeah, so dude, so here's another interesting thing I was wanting to hit you up about, like just following you over the years, watching just you post on social media, really. Um, so you're into some sleight of hand, some magic. You have like an act with that. Like, what's the whole story with how you got into all that?
Yeah, I think magic was like my first love. I saw David Blaine on TV when I was 10, changed my life. So I was originally just doing it like playing around, just having a hobby, showing it to my friends and stuff until, I don't know, maybe 2016, 2017. I was randomly at a party. There was another magician there who was also like a local hip hop artist who had a bunch of connections. We started hanging out, putting some stuff together, ended up booking a show, sold it out. And then from there, we would like book in different venues all over Texas, travel around, and start doing that.
Yeah. You've been doing your act in Colorado recently. Like what was that like with the pandemic and everything for you?
Well, the pandemic had slowed down like almost to a halt. But after that, I would reach out to different venues. Nobody got back to me until I found this place called it was like the Sugar Cube. It's like an underground like warehouse type venue. I asked them if they were looking for a magician, like just something cool to have for their people. They reached out. They said, "Yeah, come on down." Actually, is there any way I could get rid of this echo in the headphones? I can't see it on my end.
Hmm.
Or like turning it down a bit.
That any better?
Let's see. Still a little loud. It may just be my headphones.
Any better now?
Let's see. Yeah, that's a little better.
Okay.
Sorry, I'd say something and like 2 seconds later I hear it again.
Yeah, no worries. Anyway, yeah, so that happens sometimes. I don't know, like it's like I have like a mixer that's for live streaming, and like a lot of people are just like, I mean, you could do that. I've done one of these on my phone before, you know, like you can do it on
Yeah.
your iPad, you can do it on anything, and like the settings sometimes like don't line up perfectly with like who you're doing it with if they're not in the
Yeah.
studio. That's why a lot of podcasts do not do uh, Zoom episodes. But man, I'm in Arkansas, and if I don't do digital episodes, sometimes um, you're just so limited on.
Yeah, I can imagine it'd be rough.
Yeah,
So after booking that with the Sugar Cube, I'm sure you've been to festivals and stuff like that, right?
yeah.
Have you ever heard of a little traveling group called Frick Frack Blackjack?
Hmm. I don't think so.
They're like a little carnival that'll set up at festivals. They'll play blackjack and other casino games, but instead of betting money, you bet like stuff, little knickknacks and things. So like little treasures that you'll find that weird, weird stuff that people have. They'll bet against that. They happen to be there. I went and talked with them. They wanted like a magician to hang out with them, so I went with them to a couple of festivals and events, and then just started booking shows from there.
So okay, so when did you start trying to like put yourself out there with that?
Right around 2016, probably when I met my partner Richie.
And you got rejected a lot.
Not in the beginning. In the beginning, it took off quite a bit and really fast. Richie had a lot of good connections to like get us into places too, so that really helped. It was once I moved out here and I was kind of doing it on my own and really have no idea how to like network and get that kind of stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
That was the issue. But then once I, got in somewhere, it started working a lot better.
Yeah, so it's just that pandemic that slowed things down for that
Yeah.
industry, I guess. Yeah.
Hmm.
Man, that was such a weird time. Even like we closed for probably about 6 weeks, but I had just purchased the location I'm in now, which is my studio's in. It's 8,000 square feet. And like
Wow.
3 weeks later, the pandemic hits, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, y'all should probably close down for a while," you know. And we did close just to like see like more like the public perception, like even in our southern location, like people were like lambasting the churches for having service and stuff. So we were just like, our secret open mat at
Yeah.
you know, it was just a weird time. I remember also like we were here rolling illegally or whatever. I don't know. We were closed down, but the cops were chasing somebody, and they came up to the door, and they're like, "We're not here to check on anything. We're looking for a person. You're not doing anything wrong." It was like a weird, like we were both just like I'm looking at him through the door, like, "Yeah, we're just it's." It was weird. It was a weird
Yeah, I
time
can imagine. I'm
rolling in
glad you
there.
guys survived. I worried about all the people I knew and all my friends who had academies. I
Yeah,
can't even imagine.
I know several that closed down. Different people I talked to in the industry, like with Century, and then I know some guys that own some big gyms. That, like we're part of the Superfoot Bill Wallace organization, and like an estimate is that 40% of the martial arts schools closed, ended
That's
replacing.
huge.
Yeah, And I don't know where that stat comes from. That might just be, that might be a stat from the broader like group fitness industry if you wanted to lump that in. But I've heard that stat repeatedly. 40% seems like a ton, but I could kind of see it because, man, like how many schools probably just like they're just paying the bills and like not trying to do it as a full time thing. Like for me, it was, it can easily be a full time job and income for my wife, myself. We have full time employees, but not everybody is all in on that front.
Yeah,
But man,
that's crazy.
I will say,
40%.
yeah, well, the government paid, this is another weird thing about this. Like the government paid our mortgage for like 8 months, right? Like
Well, see,
paid
that's cool.
the interest and everything. It is, but I was thinking about that today because somebody like scam called me, like a spammer, like, oh, your employees a PPP loan and the pandemic loan that you didn't get, and I'm like, no, stop calling me. But like, I know so many people personally. I know so many people that got like a ton of money like that they did not have to pay back,
Wow.
and now I have to pay taxes when I order shit on Reverb.com. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm not happy about it.
man. Yeah, that was what I was worried about, like thinking about like if I hadn't have sold the academy when I did, I don't know how we would have made it.
Yeah, man, if we weren't like we try and have always tried, and really it's the core thing. Like I was saying earlier, it's really she tries to keep things this way. Um, like when that happened, I'm like, okay, we can last 6 months. We can last 6 months, and then after that, we're totally fucked. Like, yeah, but fortunately, it was about 6 weeks, and then I mean, everybody's just ready to get back to training, and it was I don't know, like we just had a really positive, like a large amount of public support, and that was like the big thing is like with the culture and the of cancellations even here, like I said, people were just like calling people out on social media for whatever that was like
Yeah.
a gathering. It was just a weird time, but yeah. So what's it been like training jiu-jitsu in Colorado? What's the scene like out there?
It's not as big as it was in Texas. There are a couple of really big gyms that have a lot of locations and then just like small mom and pop shops. I'm training right now at a place in Longmont called Dark Horse Jiu Jitsu. I'm teaching twice a week out there because, like you were talking about, when the pandemic hit, like I can't stop training. I gotta get on the mat at least a little bit. So they were kind of struggling. They were looking for instructors. I came in and helped them out, and now they're just killing it. So it's been great to get to work out with them.
Yeah, no, is that like the first spot that you started training at when you moved out there? Did you hit a couple of different spots up?
Yeah, well, I was originally living in another town and I was training at a place called the Compound, which is a Lovato school, and they were some of the most savage killers I've gotten to train with. So, yeah, they were awesome over there.
Man, I just trained with Lovato like 6 weeks ago for the first time. I hadn't
Yeah.
trained with him.
Did you actually get to roll them?
No, no, he used me to show a few techniques, and like one time he was like, "Pass my guard," and I was like, "Dude, I'm trying, I'm trying." Like it was a really good seminar, but I mean, there's like a couple of things I took away, and then that like I'd never seen or thought about, and then at the end we were doing questions, and I was like asking him about his ADCC matches and some takedowns, like when he hit that kind of like a throw by to the back, and then like it's like like a butterfly, like a sumigashi from the rear, like but
Whoa.
yeah, he showed it, and I was like, okay, it was worth the trip, you know,
Oh,
but
for sure.
yeah, it was. I will say, I would just kind of throw him on Front Street. He showed up to the seminar 1 hour late. We started training 1 hour after it was scheduled.
Damn.
I was disappointed by that. I was just like, oh, whatever. I've been to a seminar or two like this, whatever. Something happened, rush hour traffic. I'm sure there's an explanation, but like I took 10 students with me, and they were less open about being, uh, you know, understanding. So,
Yeah.
but
I had taken a seminar with Kai Otero once, and he had asked us in the beginning. He says, "Do we want to go over like some fun techniques and like make it a fun day, or do we want to look at some super hard stuff and like get super technical about it?" And we chose the latter. And I don't think he was stoked about that because he would show these techniques and people weren't getting it, and he was getting visibly frustrated, and it was just not the funnest experience. But I did take away a couple of cool details, which is, well, all you can do for a 2 hour seminar of somebody just, telling you techniques.
exactly. That's it, man. Like so, like with that seminar, he showed a couple of things from top, a couple of things from bottom, like but it was like sequences. It was like a sweep, and then like you're in like a headquarters type passing situation. You go to mount. Like it was not just like you swept the guy to side control. It's over.
Yeah,
It was more than that. But man, he really just showed like four things, which was good.
that's cool.
Like it was good, but everybody was like, "Oh, the fifth thing would have been nice." I don't know.
Yeah,
That's like what like a bunch of people were saying, but it was worth my trip. It was like an hour and a half one way to get there, and I had not trained with him, and always wanted to. Been a fan of his jiu-jitsu for a long time, so
yeah. I took a private lesson with Carlos Machado one time, and I remember I was sitting in closed guard. I had him in my closed guard, and he looks at me and he goes, "Knock me over." I swear it was like he was stuck to the ground. Couldn't separate his elbows. I mean, I would like grab his collar and shake, and the dude would just not move. It was wild.
posture and guard, dude. So you ever trained with Hickson or anybody that's like one of his black belts?
No, unfortunately not.
So I've got trained with him a couple of times, and one of his black belts is a really good friend of mine. He's actually a Dave Kama black belt, but man, he does privates with Hickson like often. The whole time I've known him since probably 2013. But he's taught like 6 seminars in my gym. I've done I don't know 15 privates with him, but Henry Akins teaches a lot of this stuff too. But posture and guard, like the way they do it, they're just like a stump. Like you cannot move them at all. It's insane. Um, but just like things you wouldn't really think. Like nobody I knew, was into that. Like, and I just like got plugged in with Jack Toffer's his name. He's got some a really great series on Budo videos called BJJ versus Cancer, and he shows like five. It's like a 5-part series. Like 12 minutes each or something. But the techniques he shows in there are all techniques he learned from Hickson, and like I've done that stuff with him a ton. And it like when I started doing it with him, I'm like, man, I don't know anybody that even knows this stuff, right? Like none of the black belts I'm training with, it's the stupidest simple like, oh, you can't tip me over in close guard.
Yeah, it's amazing what even the smallest details will do.
Yeah, no, that's man, and that's one thing I love about jujitsu. But it's also like the struggle and like Hickson talks about it as invisible jiu-jitsu. Henry Akins calls it hidden jiu-jitsu. People call it principles all the time. But man, just like things that you cannot really see, like how you're hanging weight on somebody. Like, you know, the subtleties even of like a judo throw, you're drawing somebody's weight just up on their toes just a little bit to throw them. It's things that like make it so hard to learn if you're not there feeling it, like via video or book. And I've got a library and then tons of video hard drives full, but that's one thing, man. There's just nothing like feeling it and like, putting it all into play. It's just not the same, doing it any other way, in my opinion. But
Yeah, you got to have a class, and you got to have an instructor who can take those concepts and like make them digestible. I always like to like equate things to other things just to, if you have an idea of something already, it's easier to take that and apply it to something else.
for sure.
Yeah.
You get into any other martial arts outside of jiu-jitsu?
No, that was it. I started in '07, uncoordinated, unfit, was never really active before that. And man, it changed my life completely.
same. Like I played high school football, but I was like up to 230 pounds when I had got into training. But like the gym I went to, like we did MMA, and then like a year and a half in, my instructor had got a blue belt. Dude, there were 4 black belts in the whole state at that time.
That sounds about right.
But and it was this was '06. But man, we added a gi program, and I started doing that, and just never stopped really.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I've often been like man, because I'm like we have a boxing club, kickboxing, Muay Thai. I have a judo black belt, but it's just like that MMA approach was like kind of the culture I came in at the time, and like splitting everything up. It's awesome having done it for like 16 years, all of that stuff. But
Hmm.
I also like am like, oh, I wonder if I just would have put all that energy into jujitsu, what that would have been like.
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate that that's kind of how it went with me. I mean, it was an MMA school too, because I think that's all that was around in '06, '07. You know, people weren't like specifically marketing themselves as jujitsu because I don't think people knew what it was yet.
Yeah.
You know what the UFC was, and you know what MMA was, and you could kind of sneak that program in there. But it wasn't until like it really took off that you could market just jujitsu. I mean, I think the first world championships held in America was like '07.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. Man, and just like even when I first started teaching, people were still coming in. This would have been like, you know, through probably 2015 that people were kind of really still coming in like looking for MMA. And then
Mm-hmm.
this was like a shift, probably 2013 to 2015, around that time, where like jiu-jitsu really did seem to start to take off, and more like that program grew, and then like the jiu-jitsu program shrank. Like we had or the MMA program rather, we had an MMA class the other night, and I think it had 5 people in it. We have it once a week. Everything else is just like, Muay Thai or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Nogi.
Yeah.
But man, it's just like we would do more of it if like people would show up. It's not like there's a flaw in our model or anything that I can see. I mean, like the jiu-jitsu class, I have 30 people in it. 10 people in the morning class at 5:30 a.m. and stuff like that. So it's just the consumer market, the demographics, not coming in for that.
I also think that MMA is different than it used to be. It's marketed different, it looks different. Whereas jujitsu, I feel like can bring in a more varied crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You know, unathletic people can get it because of like the cerebral aspect to it. Athletic people can get it because, it's a sport. It's a weird combination of all these different kinds of people and personalities. Whereas MMA, I feel like brings in a certain type of person.
That's a great way. Like I just kind of like refer to that as like the fighters. Like
Yeah.
I had a guy on. I haven't uploaded this, but we're gonna put it out here anytime. But he like trained with Delagrati, owns a school just outside of Boston, and like this guy is like was like an undefeated pro heavyweight, like 10-0, and then he's just like, no, fuck MMA, like fuck fighters, like you know what this fighter's gonna want me to do for him, like, and he goes off and he's like, and in like 2 years of this dude not having a job and fighting like 3 times, it's like going over and like his take on it, and I'm like, bro, I know, like I've dealt with that. It's always just like a couple of people that want to come in that they just their value set of why they are doing this is not the same.
Exactly.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's not, I don't feel like it's a mixed martial arts thing anymore. I think it's fighting. And I
Mm-hmm.
think jujitsu brings in more of martial artists where MMA is more like fighters.
Yeah, and that's yeah. Now, how would
Like
you
Randy Couture versus Conor McGregor.
yeah, that's in like I use the term martial arts a ton, just like talking about what we do, um, over like any individual style. Just because it's like I don't care like who you are. If you do martial arts for like as a hobby for self defense, it's like that could be anything. It could be jiu-jitsu, it could be karate, taekwondo, whatever. Um, but man, that's like the mass number of people that are going to come like to me for martial arts. Like that's what they're going to type in on Google martial arts. I still
Mm-hmm.
like we will have more and more people that'll like do like jujitsu related keywords in the searches. Like I see some of that, but it's martial arts. Like the kids that train here in jujitsu, their parents think they do karate. It's kind of weird, and I can't even overcome that.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's educating the market because not only do you have to like educate them in techniques, you have to educate them in what jujitsu is in the first place. Because even as popular as it is now, you know, most people on the street aren't going to know.
Yeah, it's true. Well, and like Joe Rogan has been huge for that, honestly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So many people I talk to talk about jujitsu in a very loose way based on what they hear on the Joe Rogan experience.
yeah, that's a whole other side of that too. Yeah, for sure. But it is like in those ways, it's kind of like I don't know. It's like made inroads into the larger culture,
Yeah.
into the zeitgeist. But
It's been good. You know, it's a good thing overall, I feel like.
I do too. It's been interesting to watch and be a part of. I tell people a lot. Did you ever compete at Worlds or go out to Worlds or anything like that?
Yeah.
Did you ever win any big tournaments, Worlds, Pans?
No, nothing big.
Me, I got a bronze at the Houston IBJJF one time. Yeah,
Yeah, that's about the height I got to also.
I was pumped about it though. It was not an easy bracket or day. I ended up losing. Did you ever train with Cooper Cardinal?
Oh yeah, from Alvarez.
Yeah, he was good, dude. I had a couple matches against him. But in that bracket, like the finals, was him and Benji Silva that day. I remember. So
I'm not familiar with Benji, but I know Cooper fairly well.
Benji was a Kyle Terra guy, and he went on to do great things. Like, Kevin Williams, like refs at the AGF all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, no Kevin.
He beat Kevin for the fight to win middleweight title back when Kevin was holding on to that for a long time.
But that's saying something because Kevin is sick.
I know, dude. Like, but yeah, Benji was good. I'm essentially positive that Cooper beat him that day, but like they had a little bit of a rivalry going. But Benji kind of had a rivalry going with everybody. It seemed like so he was just like kind of put off that vibe. But
Yeah, all those dudes over from Alvarez are.
yeah. Yeah, but that's man. Anytime I competed at several tournaments in Texas, just different from AGFs to IBJJFs. We did Dallas about every year we could there for several years in a row. I got some guys doing it this year. I don't really compete anymore, but are you still competing at all?
Yeah, fairly often. If there's registration, I'm not paying anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you on that. Like
Yeah, they've taken enough of my money.
and that's an interesting concept too. Like paying to go compete in the tournament that they're going to charge spectators to watch you, and you're providing the. It's all the competitor, It's just a kind of a interesting concept, especially with how much like IBJJFs cost and like the fees my guys are paying now. I'm just like, geez.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, even Hava Mendez was paying to compete at the Worlds.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like that's crazy.
Well, and two, yeah, and like there is, you got the outliers like Gordon Ryan. Like there's money in the sport, but for such a small percentage of people, you know.
Yeah.
And even, man, even like it would just be such a grind to try and like only make a living competing in jiu-jitsu. Like I could not even imagine that.
Yeah.
Trying to sustain that.
I think that just goes back to the education of the public. People don't know what they're looking at. You know, they don't understand a cool transition. They'll know a cool submission when they see it, but like somebody puts in all this work to pass the guard, it just looks like somebody laying on top of somebody.
True, dude. Okay, so here's a great example of that. Like when Connor fought Khabib, like I was actually pretty impressed with like Connor stopping Khabib there initially from getting on his legs and mounting him. Like he had some like butterfly transitions where he was able to like sit up and like create space and like move from like on his side to like get into a butterfly position. This like stopping him from mounting him, and like he ultimately, I mean, you know how things turned out, but I was like, oh, okay, well, dude, you've been training. Like I could tell, like, okay, that was a good movement with your hips there against that guy. But only you and I are going to be seeing and saying those things, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah, that's why people boo when they go to the ground. They just know what they're looking at.
oh, dude, yeah, I always joke with would be at MMA fights in Arkansas. This is a long time ago, but like some drunk dude in the crowd, like guys are striking. They're striking. You hear Von Flu, like Von Flu choke, and I'm just like, oh man, like what is going on here?
It's like learning a new language, just shooting out words when you think they're appropriate.
Oh man, oh yeah, wild. Yeah. So, man, so like, between that period of like, it seems like you're really digging training at Dark Horse. Like I've seen you post about it. But I mean, was there like a period in between, like when you close your gym down, and then where like I've seen you also like talk about kind of like having a little bit of a love hate relationship with jujitsu. Was that like impartiality of like you closing your academy down and just like going to back to being a regular student? Like, what was that like?
Well, it was, I used jujitsu for my mental health. And when it became a job and it wasn't as successful as I wanted it to be, it really started to bog me down. So once I like got away from that and got back to training for fun and like actually enjoying it again, I remembered why I loved it so much.
Yeah.
And that's always been the thing for me is like I have to have it. And when it started to like bleed into everything else in my life and it was the only thing and I just didn't like it as much anymore.
Yeah, no, that's man, I can feel that for sure because like man, when I started, like I'm into other things like the podcast, taught college for 4 years, have all these people around me that help in various ways so I can pursue other interests, uh, other passions like like with you with magic or whatever. But I will say like it is super weird, like you lose something when you're the owner head coach guy, like it's you don't get to experience it in the same way. And part of the reason behind like trying to like transition it to like more to like the model that I have now, or like even moving forward with that, is so I can enjoy it for my own selfish reasons more. Like
Yeah.
we've produced 5 black belts now at our school. Outside of myself, we'll have 2 more by the end of next year, and then another one on deck a little bit after that. But man, is that process is taking place more like it's not like I remember when like we exclusively had to get blue belts to cover class, and now it's like
Mm-hmm.
almost exclusively black belts that cover the class. So that's just been a cool, like there's probably 100 black belts in Arkansas now, and it's been a cool thing to witness that transition.
Yeah. How is the scene like that? Because you mentioned going to Texas a lot for competing, and I don't know of any majors that move out to Arkansas or anything like that. Do you guys mainly have the AGF, or is there like other
AG,
markets that you guys have too?
AGF was the first jiu-jitsu tournament to come to Arkansas.
Wow, not even Naga?
Naga said they were going to do it and didn't. I'm
Wow.
throwing them on Front Street right now. They did, and then like AGF came in. Like we've had other like grappling industries and stuff, but AGF comes twice a year, and it's massive both times. Everybody supports it, and they hold it in Central Arkansas, and then they have like well, I went to the first AGF in I believe it's in Springfield, right? But like where we are, there's Northwest Arkansas. Fuji comes up and does like Northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville, and then over in Missouri in Springfield. But yeah, that's it's pretty much AGF, and then like other lower quality tournaments that don't do as good of a job that come in and capitalize on their market. It's
Yeah.
really unfortunate. Like I'll try and talk my guys. I'm like, just do AGF or like some other like serious competitors. Those summits are really cool. Have you done a summit before?
No, I haven't heard of them.
It's kind of like a fight to win, like just like 25 super fight
Oh,
format.
like a pro show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I've had a couple of my guys do those recently, and they've come to Little Rock once, and then I had three of my guys do one in Memphis, and then they're coming back to Little Rock. So, but that's been nice. But man, we've done everything from like going to Omar's for some like 8-on-8 or something. Like he would have like these different like tournaments, like 8 women and 8 men and two different brackets of do it whatever way. But we were, when I was coming through the colored ranks, we're always trying to compete anywhere we could. And we always had to go out of state to Oklahoma and get taken down by fucking wrestlers, or Texas, where it would be like, Alvarez or Moeller people, and then there would always be Lovato people, or like Lovato would be fucking coaching against you or something. So, yeah.
Yeah, shout out to the AGF. I love those guys. I was one of their first sponsored athletes, and I've been competing with them forever, and they're definitely my favorite organization to work with. So
Yeah.
that's good that you guys have them out there.
Yeah. No,
They
dude,
actually just had their first Denver events.
I bet we were on the same group of people because I got sponsored by him as well. Andrew Wiltsey, Clay Mayfield.
Yeah, it's all those guys.
Yeah, Clay's been on the podcast. Kevin Williams been on the podcast. So, yeah, but like the whole bunch of those first round people, man, they went on to do amazing things. I did not know. Did you do any of like the qualifiers or anything they did? I think I was just like a little behind you. I think by the time, I'm pretty sure I was a purple belt and you were a black belt when I first met you, but I could be misremembering that.
Yeah, I didn't get my black belt until 2017.
What year would that George seminar have been in at Omar's?
Oh man, I think I was still a brown belt at that time.
Okay, so
Maybe
maybe you
even
were.
purple. It was fairly early.
Maybe you were a brown. Maybe I'm just remembering because like Omar was a black belt, but still at that
Yeah.
time it was kind of like, I don't know, like I just didn't get to like go train and be around like a bunch of brown and black belts. I remember working with Corbin Crisp at that seminar too, and he's gone on to do amazing shit.
Oh yeah, him and James Patridge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
James, he taught a seminar at my gym. Been on the podcast, man. I really enjoy talking to him. He's an awesome dude.
Yeah, I was lucky to get to compete against him a couple of times.
I've only rolled with him. I've rolled with him a few times, and just awesome. When he came in, did the seminar, rolled with him a ton, and just so smooth. Like I don't know. I just really, I enjoyed watching him over the years too. Like any tournament I've ever been at that he's competed, but I never competed against him.
Yeah, we were used to be in the same weight class. I think he's bigger than me now, but I think we met at an AGF. It's either Oklahoma, maybe it was Arkansas, but yeah, we met in the finals of an AGF once, and it was a pretty tough match.
Man, he is yeah, he was just like one of those early guys that could just rip your knee apart with a heel hook, and
Hmm.
that's the same thing with like that was like George's shtick back in the day, like when no one was doing that, he was like ripping people apart, and I'm just like, man, I wish I could heel hook people.
I was pretty lucky that early in my career, I had a black belt named Matt Larry who was all about the leg locks and the heel hooks. So, like, since early blue belt, I've been playing with that and definitely my favorite submission.
Not man, and that's great. Like I didn't get into leg locks until like, man, it was late purple belt. Man, it's still like the gym, just like like we have like a larger association. Like when I got my black belt, it was like under our head coach, not the coach I'd come up under, because like I said, like I've been training with him a little while when he got a blue belt. Right. So it's like all of our ranks are just like under the same guy. Like his coach is like the same guy that ended up being my coach on my black belt cert. But like he moved off and opened a gym in Northwest Arkansas too. So it's like I didn't get to train with them anymore. But man, just like leg locks are a taboo thing. And like with that first gym I trained at, them they would do them like for MMA, but it's like MMA started to fade a little bit, like we are talking about earlier. That's when it like became like they were super into jiu-jitsu competition and like produced a couple world champions, done really well overall, like pans. They could go to big tournaments and bring medals back. and they were just super stereotypical about like fuck leg locks. We don't do that shit around here. And take
Yeah, it
kicks
was
too.
always like it was always frowned upon. Like if you can't pass guard, you leg lock somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that gave me a lot of success early on in the no-gi circuit because I had that just like extra step of like those sambo knots and 411 before they were calling it that, 50-50 like before they were calling it that.
Yeah. Nah, that's everybody is just been had a serious learning curve with that stuff. And I've had guys go and do like those super fight format matches where this dude, he's like, he's about to get a blue belt, and he'd wrestled in high school, right? But he'd been trying like less than 2 years with me and wrestled in high school. Goes and does this super fight with this other white belt who's been training for 10 years. We get there, and I'm like, oh, this guy, like, I know this guy. Like, he was at my gym 8 years ago training. Like, one of my guys beat him in a tournament 8 years ago. And so he grapples this dude and heel hooks him right out the gate with an outside heel hook, which a lot of people have atrocious finishing details on. I feel like more so than the inside, but just like over, and man, it's just like it just can close the gap just like that. Like still, and that was like 2 years ago. So the learning curve is still out there, and I still know people that they really invest any time in them, or they like the stereotypical, oh, well, I can do the knee bars and stuff at brown belt. So, we'll just wait till I get my brown belt, I guess. I don't know, like coaches will just not be teaching their students like white through purple, like submissions that they can't do. And it's weird. I've seen a little bit of that over the
Yeah, I
years.
was lucky that my first couple of instructors were like, nah, fuck that. We're going to learn everything. Heel hooks it's easy to get into, it's hard to get out of.
Heel hooks in the gi. All right, I'm an advocate. Some people are like if I'm showing a video for my YouTube, I'm not gonna like, oh, okay, well we're doing some gi techniques and like I'm gonna take my gi off so we can show this heel hook. That's just like such a weird concept to me. I'm like, it's just like I teach heel hooks in gi class, but that's I feel like a taboo thing with a lot of gyms. Like they'll only do a no gi or
Yeah.
something.
Well, the amount of hip control and knee control that I can get with a gi, I mean, that would be the only submission anybody went for.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the ease of entry and the ability to control the knee line just because you have those pants to grab,
Mm-hmm.
that seems cool. I would be into it. Like, don't get me wrong.
Well, yeah, dude, it's like we're holding the game back. Is how I feel about it. And like I tell people like with this sort of stuff, like I don't want to be an article that I read on like Jiu-Jitsu Times or Jiu-Jitsu Eastern Europe or whatever the publication is. It's talking shit about this stuff. Like whatever it is, the stereotypes of Jiu-Jitsu McDojos or whatever it is. But I like look at that stuff and I'm like, well, shit. Like, I felt like they were going to be making heel hooks legal at IBJJF eventually. And about 2.5 years after I really started changing my training around, that happened in Nogi for IBJJF. So,
Which is weird. It's only in the adult division. Master division still can't heel hook.
damn,
Yeah, even at black belt.
that's weird. I
Like,
didn't know that.
yeah, I didn't know that until recently either.
Man,
Because I was stoked about it. I'm in the masters division now, and I get to heel hook people.
that's
Nah.
like that's like slipping in a regulation on the cannabis stuff earlier, man. Jeez.
Yeah.
Passed that bill and we didn't even know about it.
Yeah, honestly. How pissed would you have been? You sign up, you get this sweet heel hook, and you get DQ'd.
Oh man, I've got to like, man, that is something to keep an eye on. I don't like most of the guys I have that compete are adult right now, but I do have a guy, probably a couple of guys that do Masters Worlds next year, but they're not going to do Nogi, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, IBJJF's been doing more of that format too, with like gi one day, no gi the second day, like more so than I ever remember when I was competing on that circuit, you know?
Yeah, since Nogi's been blowing up.
Yeah.
I remember I had an instructor tell me one time, because I was talking about training with Nogi less, or training Nogi more, training in gi less. And he's told me that nobody cares about Nogi jiu-jitsu. The money's going to be in the gi in the future. And, look how that turned out.
Yeah, yeah. And I wonder what man this last year's ADCC was sick. So
Yeah.
I'm like pissed at myself for not going. Like I had a couple of really good friends out there, and I'm planning on going to the next one. This like
Oh,
the
for sure.
production value. Oh man, that was
Such good matches too. Cade Rotolo, man.
dude, just wild seeing those guys. Like literally, I remember the first video I saw of them as kids. They had like a little viral video, like them doing. It was like really all the Gracie self defense techniques. Like they were like going through them, and I'm like, man, these kids are sick. But then it was like videos of them doing rolling knee bars and all sorts of fancy stuff like barambolos. Um, but now, man, just to see like them go from being 10 years old to ADCC champ
Yeah,
is
and submitting everybody on the way.
dude. You know, were all of his wins? Now he had a heel hook too, but like he got like 2 or 3 arm bars, right?
Yeah, he definitely armbarred Lachlan Giles.
Yeah,
I think he armbarred Ethan Krellenstein too.
yeah. Like I will say like I just learned how to do the arm bar, dude. Like I trained with Daniel O'Brien. Are you familiar with who that is?
Mm-mm.
He's a dude a few years back, like 3 or 4 years ago, that maybe longer, that entered this tournament blindfolded. You ever remember hearing about that?
No.
And he like submit like black belt division, like NCAA Division One wrestler, world champion the division, submitted everybody, but beat everybody but one guy. He's in like Central Alabama, near Brandon McCatherine's academy. If you know him, he's an Eddie Bravo guy. He was one of the commentators of ADCC. But I will say, dude, like I kind of feel like the way Rotolo was doing the armbar is kind of Donaher would call it slack removal. And that's like been a big thing I've been looking at on all my subs that I got from like Donaher principle, like just something he teaches a lot of. But like I like just really distend the arm, pulling it this way now, no matter what I'm doing with my legs or anything. If I'm like trying to distend your joint, but like when he pulls people up and falls back down, you distend the joint way more.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so you think people doing a conventional armbar from guard, that has never been like it's always been taught to me to like pull off the hips or like pull into yourself, but like I'm pulling this way if I'm laying on the ground. But like, dude, when he was doing Daniel Bryan's taught a seminar at my gym and he's doing that to me, I was like, dude, you're about to like he's not even doing anything with his legs. I'm like, bro, I'm about to tap to this, like just like what you're doing to my like distended my elbow joint out. So it was just like some new understandings on the elbow, part of the arm bar, like versus like, man, I've had a guy, 2 friends of mine, get their bicep tendons torn from it being back this way.
Yeah. Man, it's just like all those little details, dude. It's all about the smallest details. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah, that's man, and that's back to the why I've always been such a big fan of Hickson stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is because it's the stupidest stuff that you are literally like everything I've learned from that guy or one of his guys, like, well, why didn't I think of that? It's the stupidest
Exactly.
thing. Like that's like I'm gonna go teach this to my white belts and they're gonna get it immediately. Just man, but like a lot of people, there's a lot of conflation in jiu-jitsu. Like man, one I talk about a lot is just like learning from like lower ranks when I was coming up. Like standing guard pass, like you can do the 2 hands on like standing guard break. You can do the 2 hands on one knee, but you cannot do that shit on your knees. But people teach that. I've been in a room where people teach that. And it's like, which way do you want to get your back taken?
Exactly.
And,
I'm never going to put both of my hands to one side of the knot of my belt.
But man, so like I see things like that a lot now, like doing this for 16 years. That's a conflation. Like somebody went and learned that standing where you're not at a risk, and then they went back and they're like, oh, you could do this from your knees, and then that person taught, and it became a point of confusion. I've seen that on like, man, several fundamental techniques, But that's what's awesome about jiu-jitsu, man. Every year I'm in, I figure new things out about arm bars and shit I've been doing since I was a white belt.
Yeah, I find that I'll write something off and then a few years later I'll try it and it clicks. I'm like, why the hell have I been doing this the whole time?
I have a theory about that. That's like, to me, that's context, right? So like 2 years, like how much of the context of your personal jujitsu, if trained consistently, and let's say you watch some film and compete, and just you're engaged in the art, man. Like that's context changes over a 2 year period, and you filled in all of these blanks all over the place, and then you go back to something you haven't looked at in a long time, and it's like you just the context change, you understand it in a different way. That happens to me more than all the time,
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for me right now, it's the inverted arm bar where you put the arm over your shoulder and you grab and attack it that way,
Okay.
hitting that everywhere.
Do you like finishing with like that Gable style grip?
Yeah, I prefer that.
That's what I prefer too. Like a really good friend of mine, and he's won pans. He's like the coach at that school I was mentioning. That they've produced a couple of champs, world champions in adult. But he's been into, and I don't. This is not as good. I like the Gable version, but he's like putting it in his neck and grabbing like the owner part of the elbow and like pulling it over and then framing it. And like,
Hmm.
it's just like I haven't found the application for that as much. One of the tightest arm locks I ever got caught in was by Flavio Kennup, and he's like the little like a knee pinch arm bar, but it was like at my elbow, like it was like sometimes people do that like an overhook arm lock from Butterfly,
Yeah.
and like go in like you get a knee pinch on the shoulder, but dude, his knees were pinched around like more like my bicep when he caught it, and like just had it like barely tucked into his hip, like had like a sleeve grip, and did it from just like an open guard. But man, I do like the Udigatamis, man. That's what they're called in judo.
Yeah.
Udigatami.
Collar chokes for me. Collar chokes and triangles.
Right on. Collar chokes like guard any position.
I like the Ilio Gracie choke from guard or back control. Anything on the back. That's my goal when I'm rolling is to get to the back.
We've been this whole month have been doing tons of back control. Um, there's this dude from Brazil I trained with recently. That dude, he's a 6 degree. His name's Rodrigo Feijão, old Novo União guy. There's a lot of champions he's produced over the years. But this was interesting. Everything he had us doing was on strangles. Was like we'd have a seatbelt, and then he'd be like switch, and then choke. He's like if you already had the seatbelt, like they're gonna grab that top arm, like you're not gonna choke them. And
Mhm.
he's like, and then we're starting the class, we're in back mount, but he was like, and then like man, like I did 4 classes with him that week. I drove up to Bentonville like several times, did privates with him. He was in town for a couple weeks, and a lot of stuff was like switching the grip and then attacking after the switch. And there's a strategy I just never really seen anybody apply from back control like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm big about I'll take my choking arm that's over the shoulder and I'll make that the underhand.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll grab the support hand and that allows me to get into the neck.
Yeah, that's sneaky. I like that. There's another thing that he kept doing, like dude, he was like dismounting turtle or like letting you escape the back and then going into like clock chokes, like
Yeah.
setting. And I'd seen like back in the day, like Keenan Cornelius did some shit like that off of like guard passing in tournaments, like, but it was like the same strategy. But man, he had like he was all about setting like upper body grips on back control, and then
Yeah. I find the seatbelt is the most important part.
yeah, yeah, no, that's for sure. Uh, Another thing, I never done this. Like, seems stupid. Like we've been doing them like crazy. Like he'd have us get behind somebody standing, 1 minute, no grips, no hooks, and you follow them. They can go up, they can go down, side to side. And then he just kept adding. He's like, okay, now you have seatbelt in the top arm. Put that hook in. Now all positions. You have both hooks with a, the choke grip, like both hands, like that okiri is what's called in judo, like that bow and arrow style, just like cross choke from the back, And but like, man, he just like where you would follow, and it's like all about having us connect our chins on the person on the back, and that was just like a huge detail that is I think's underemphasized is like connecting with your head.
Yeah.
On a back control. That's something that like I walked away with like, okay, that's way more important than I've been paying attention to.
Yeah, that's actually something that I've kind of been using that's kind of revolutionized my back is when I get to the back, I'm doing that chest to shoulder or chin to shoulder connection,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm doing that so that shoulder can't move down to the mat. Because if I can keep their shoulder lined up with mine, their back can't go to the mat because that shoulder has to touch the mat
Yeah.
if their back is going to go to the mat to escape. So if I can control that point, it takes away a lot of other thinking that I have to do. I'm actually teaching a seminar on this next week.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, I'll get some videos and shoot you some stuff. I got some cool stuff I'm working on.
Yeah, no, I would love, dude. I would love to see it, particularly because we like. I trained with this Fajal dude like 3 months ago. Filmed everything and just edited it, and have like been reviewing it, teaching it back to my people. We did it after I trained it for a couple weeks, but I've been like anything back control right now, and like just have like had some new revolutions myself. So I'm just like, oh man, what are your thoughts on like rear mount? Like
Like when they're just mounted belly down.
yeah, you flatten their ass, maybe perhaps.
Oh, dude, that's what we dream for. That's what we want.
It's
You
like
know what
my
I mean? I'm just
favorite.
gonna pull you up on your forehead and choke you.
Yeah, that's dude. That's another thing those Hickson guys are super into. Like, like I'm all into like personally. If I'm gonna take your back, I do more of like I would call like a setup style back take. Like, say I have you in technical mount, I'm gonna set you up and take your back that way. But
Mm-hmm.
man, those guys don't take the back that way. They exclusively turn your ass flat down into rear mount. Like from gift wrap, you're going to rear mount. Like it's
Wow.
I know. Like I was kind of surprised because like I would see the rear mount come up all the time, but in like particular like almost all of Hickson's fights, he ends the dude in rear mount, right? And
Oh
then
yeah.
several of his guys that fought MMA or would do jiu-jitsu or like just their details on it. But man, that's a position that's like, oh man, like that is the worst position to be in too.
Yeah. As far as grappling goes, I can't imagine a worse thing.
Yeah,
Like all your defenses are smashed into the ground and somebody's sitting on your back.
that's dude Matt Hughes. That's how he beat Hoist Gracie.
Mm-hmm.
Like UFC 60 or 62 or whenever it was. Like rear mounted him and just like ground and pounded him. Conor McGregor. That's how he got choked out by Nate Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just get that back mount and start throwing punches until you lift your head up and throw the choke on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, back control, man. That is like that's the king position for me. That's everything. If I could just get on the back, that would be like we've been doing a ton of standing entries. So that's another like I love being at the back from standing. Why I like that guy's drills so much. We just did a ton of work from standing. So like I just upped my awareness and connection and everything from the back from standing, which is like, man, I get to standing back a lot, and I've got some finishes I like to do. But I feel like that's a position that's like, I don't work that enough. Like you get an arm drag to the back, and then you might not do the takedown from there. It's just like depends on what you're working on, I guess. But
Yeah. As far as any combat goes, if you can be behind your opponent or your partner or whatever, I mean, there's nothing better.
yeah,
They can't do anything to you because their hands are in front of them and you're behind them.
yeah, no, that's and then too, this is also jujitsu. Like been doing back control, but I remember being at I don't even. This was called. You ever remember a jiu-jitsu tournament called Kozen?
Mm-mm.
They did a few tournaments around like Springfield and elsewhere, but I had a dude. I got taken down with a foot sweep. The only tournament match I ever did break fall in, Then he had me in kind of like a rear side position, ended up taking my back, doing the stuff we're talking about, gets the collar set, body triangles my ass. And then I did a body triangle counter, which broke this dude's foot.
Ooh, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about too.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just like, man, you're never safe. You know,
Honestly,
you're
yeah.
never safe. Like that dude thought. I mean, he did. He had me dead to rights. I was dead to rights. Like, and you know, I won the match and got to fight again that day because I was like, I got to fight for third because I had lost a match already or won one, lost one. I got to because I won that one. I got to stay in, but I was just like, all right, that would have been a long drive because if I would have lost that match, I was done for the day. You know.
Yeah. That was something that took me a lot to overcome is like not investing my whole personality in my jujitsu. Like if I lose a match, it would piss me off for a month.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I couldn't get out of that funk. And now that I've like stepped away from it like professionally and it's not like my whole life, I can compete more and I enjoy it more again.
Dude, yeah, I had to go find tournaments to do that my students wouldn't be at. You know, like that was a serious problem. And then like AGF, like by the time they had done 3 or 4 tournaments in Arkansas, there was one tournament that between my students and we had this student of mine that had opened a gym and he had 5 or 6 students. But we had 32 people there that day on like my team, right? Like from
Mm-hmm.
our gym and that gym. And I also competed, you know, and that guy who on the other gym competed. It's just like, man, that was the hard part. Or like Cora, my wife, would be competing. And it's like you're trying to coach, and then you've been coaching kids at 8 a.m. and now it's 2 p.m. and you're grappling, and you got to go out and coach your wife in your gi, and then go back out and do another. It just, man, it was not enjoyable. And that's actually like I was about 28 when I stopped competing, and I was a brown belt, and I was like winning matches and I was having decent results. Like I was not. I just like I was hurt all the time. Like, dude, I'm actually wearing a rib brace right now from an old tournament injury.
Ooh.
Yeah. But you know, man, I just like I remember seeing widespread panic the night before, and my back was super fucking hurt, and I was competing the next day in Tulsa Nationals, and I was just like, I think that'll probably be the last time I do that tomorrow. And
Yeah.
it was. That was the last fucking time, dude. And like, it's weird too because, you know, that's in like 7 years ago now, and I enjoy jiu-jitsu way more not competing, personally, kind of like what you're saying. But also like just like we've got the AGF Arkansas coming up, and I like here's what goes on. Sometimes I'm like, I could do that one, you know. I just go do it. It wouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. You still get the itch, and it's not even really, dude. I don't know. I just never. I compete for the wrong reasons. I just did not enjoy that shit. You know, like I didn't. The first few times I competed and the times I fought, I had some fights, kickboxing, MMA, and some jiu-jitsu tournaments before I started coaching, and that I did for selfish reasons. You know, like, and then it just became like a part of my job, like an obligation. Like I have
Yeah.
to show my students or something. It was a weird thing, you know. And that's why I like the podcast, talking to people about this stuff. Is like, yeah, I'm usually talking to school owners or people that have like, man, they've been through the same shit, whether it's competing or coaching or what have you. You know.
Yeah. No, I've definitely been there, man. And now that I'm not like the guy, competing's fun again. You know, I get to go out there and coach some of the guys and help out, but you know, at the end of the day, it's still about me.
Yeah. Was there like, did you have like a long time period off where you weren't competing?
No, I've been competing pretty consistently, at
Yeah.
least once a year.
Yeah, no, that's I don't know. I don't want to rule out. I will probably compete again someday. I don't know. I'm just like
Yeah,
it's gonna have to be just like where like I don't feel like it's an obligation or a pressure.
exactly. Yeah.
Not not also having a freaking flare up of an old rib injury. You know.
Yeah, I actually broke my rib in a tournament trying to heel hook somebody, twisted too hard, pop.
Dude, this
It's
is
the
my
worst.
rib is broken right now, and it's the same. The first time I injured it is like you know how like people can set a hook to put you in the like a truck like roll like you're in turtle.
Yeah.
Dude, I was trained with Brandon Quick. He was teaching a seminar at AGF, and I was like in that turtle position, and he was like rolling over my back this way, and I was kind of like turning and twisting this way, just like what you're saying on a heel hook.
Yeah.
And it popped, dude. And that was about 6 years ago, and I've had fucking problems with it ever since, dude.
Oh,
So,
dude.
and it
I was
manifests
pretty lucky
sometimes
mine
in
healed up pretty good.
my chest. Oddly enough, like just like how I guess things are connected together. But man, when it flares up, I feel it in my sternum. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't envy you.
Yeah, yeah, but you know, it's I'm sure you've got your laundry list of old nagging injuries as well. So
Oh man, I was actually just competing a few weeks ago, and I threw up a buggy choke because I got my guard pass, and my arm was too shallow, and I pulled and I hyperextended my elbow. It's still giving me issues now.
yeah,
Yeah,
elbows, dude. Yeah, my
yeah.
elbows give me issues like every night when I sleep.
Oh yeah, my shoulders too.
Oh man, yeah, it's weird, but you know, damn, we better use the body. You know what? I'll say like if we did not train and just like ate McDonald's and like didn't exercise, we would probably feel worse. That's my theory. You know, like I know some people that are super overweight, like, and their quality of life is not good. You know, it's just like your joints got to be hurting as bad as mine just from inflammation. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on, you kind of cut out there, man. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hmm. I do. Your your audio's gone.
How's that?
Okay, there we go. Good.
I just had to turn those headphones off.
Yeah, no worries, dude.
My girlfriend's iPad. There we go.
Well, dude, you know, we can go ahead and wrap it up actually. I did man, it's been awesome, you know, catching up with you and chatting, talking a little jiu-jitsu and magic and Sunsquabi.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. If you guys ever plan on coming out here, man, like hit me up. Could catch a show. It sounds dope.
For sure. Are you in Denver or where are you at?
I'm in the Denver area. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You know, a really good friend of mine lives out there too, and like we go and stay with her sometimes, about once a year or so. And then two, I still have not seen Panic at the Red Rocks, so
Oh, dude, you got to go.
that will definitely happen. This last year we were gonna go, and my wife had surgery. Like on the week before, she ended up having like her meniscus repaired.
Ooh.
So that
Yeah,
was
not
gonna
good
be
for Red Rocks.
yeah. But man, that's like I've seen Incubus there. Like we flew out and saw Incubus there, and that was an awesome show. So
Yeah, actually, speaking of Wabi, I saw their first Red Rock show that they headlined last year.
man, that's yeah, that would be sick. But man, yeah, we'll definitely be back out there. We've been out a few times, and it's definitely it's on the list of places to go back to. We were trying to go back like last spring break, it just didn't pan out either. So we're due a trip. So if I'm in the area, I'll hit you up.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Blake. Well, thanks for your time, man. It was good talking to you, and man, we'll see you around.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, man.
All right, man.